Hello and welcome to a Teller's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome back to a brand new episode. George is just like literally behind the camera right now. We're going to roll with it. This is staying in the podcast. Fuck it.
But the dog's being so quiet.
Literally, I love it. The dog's been looked after, and George is just like, let's add some extra sound effects. But we've got today in person for only the third time in 103 episodes, so that probably makes sense. But welcome back, Jordan Green.
Thanks for having me.
In your house, basically. But this week, we've just done Airsoft, so I think like the topics of today are going to be continuation of that, and then also just what's going on in life, because this is going to be a chill one. Otherwise, we might introduce a couple of other extra characters in the podcast if they feel obliged to do so.
It's going to be one of those rambling sessions.
Rambling sessions, definitely. But how the hell are you? That's the first question.
Better now.
Better.
Shucks, folks, I'm speechless.
Yeah. Are we adding charisma to this? Is that what
sure.
it's... Yeah.
Yeah, good. Tired. A lot of running around in the heat today. How are you? After your first day of Airsoft then?
You know what? I think the one thing you underestimate in these sort of things is like, I think of myself as a relatively fit person, and then when you're carrying about all of this stuff, I've got genuinely, my head is semi-pounding right now because of the lack of hydration, because of like just running around so much.
And I feel like you can never drink enough when you're doing that.
I see, we've talked about this before. My hydration levels when it comes down to exercise are terrible, and I will consume more coffee than I will water, and that's probably why when I take a photo for a gym, I'm lean, because like there's no water in my body. Yeah. There's nothing there. It's just like
a shredded raisin.
Just shredding because of the raisins effect. Yeah, exactly. But it does make me appreciate, like, you have to actually be prepared for this. And you can't just go in full effect. And, with most sports, I'm the type of person to just go full steam ahead and just be like, right, I'm just going to walk out there and do it. But with Airsoft, you actually have to be semi-prepared with it.
It's almost like a mind puzzle as well.
Motion detected at the front door.
It does that.
It does that, yeah. You got those moments where you just got to be prepared.
Yeah, so I think with Airsoft, as physical as it is, it's a mind game as well, because you're having to almost just outwit an entire team of other people.
Dude, and what we haven't said today is how good those guys were we played against today. There's one thing that you have to appreciate. Dude, one of the things I like to say about myself is I know when I can say I lost, and today I definitely lost multiple times.
We took some, we lost some.
When one of the guys we went Airsoft with, guys, is his name was Kaio, and ironically we went to school with him, which is kind of weird, bumping into someone you haven't seen in 11 to 12 years. And he got 4 of these canisters that you had to pick up in one of the matches. And I thought to myself, I don't know about you, Jordan, but I was like, we've definitely won this. We've got 4 in there. We're all good. Then you hear, the other team's got 11. And
find out till it's too late.
Mate.
But, I think most of ours were just by him, so he was getting after it.
It did feel like a one-man team in some ways. This was my first time doing Airsoft, so I can't really feel like I'm
same.
pulling teeth. Right, that's it. But do you feel like, how many times have you been so far?
Probably averages out to maybe twice a month since January, so
okay.
That's a fair amount. But it's one of those things where even as you get better and better with it, so does everyone else, and you're gonna get shot. Doesn't matter.
I'm actually glad that when you said, do you want to get shot now, and it was you shooting me, I'm actually rather you shoot me for the first bullet than absolutely like shit myself because I'm getting shot suddenly, because the level of adrenaline go through it. I was talking to George about that actually. Yeah.
My friend Ryan Hill, who got me into it.
Yeah.
And he popped by with his rifle one day just so he could shoot me with it and get me acquainted. I thought, you know what, it's not even that bad.
Welcome to the world, mate. This is it. But it's a good introduction because you're like, oh no, there's no more frightened feelings towards it.
It's almost worse when you're waiting to get that first shot, thinking it's going to be way worse than it is.
Dude, when you're in close quarters, that's actually... So when people talk about...
That's never fun, no matter how much you do it.
I actually was a little bit... George saw me run away from a guy, literally like sprint away from it. So I was kind of... I felt like a little bit of a girl guy. Just run away. Like, fuck!
Run away!
Okay.
What's going on here? But that I'm hoping that the more you do it, the less that becomes a factor, and the more you become a little bit more switched on in how you do things.
Yeah, I think with a lot of that stuff as well is the more you pull back and hide, you're letting them come to you, and they realise that, so they're going to start pushing hard. You gotta run into that room and just start clearing.
That is one thing I realised that we weren't doing today, is that we kept on sort of like holding back a little bit, and it meant that they were able to just keep pushing forward. And sorry, we're watching George. George is making all the sins of every media person ever. He's like making sound behind us, going in and out for a cigarette break. I love it.
It's the authentic Taylor's Tales experience.
Mate, I've always said this. This has never been one of those podcasts that you can call high quality. It's one of pure joy to do, but of not so classy scenarios.
Great work, man.
Great work. Well done.
Yeah, there's a reason why you get people, I guess, in the real version of that,
Yes,
are so aggressive.
it makes sense, and it also makes. And I talk about this as well before, but like a lot of the MI take steroids because they're trying to stay as aggressive and like locked in muscularly as well. Like a lot of them are big guys, and that can be obviously.
Do they not test for that? Or?
So it's kind of conflicted actually within the army, in the sense that it's actually just totally illegal, number one, and then number two is that it's actually really difficult to be able to get that stuff into the army in the first place.
I can imagine.
But do you remember, Dan Bilzerian? I think he talks
That
about
guy.
that guy exactly. Not exactly the person to refer to, but he does talk about how he was able to do it in Mexico, which is nuts. You think you're on a sort of going through Mexico as a routine for the army, and yet he's able to get needles across the board and everything. It's madness, but I understand why they have to stay on that level of alertness and aggression. And really, we should say now, at this point, I'd much rather see a sport with steroids in it than without it, if I'm honest. And,
Yeah, I suppose it makes for better watching.
yeah, exactly. Like it's at the point now where you're just like, just let them do it, man. They're doing it anyway. Like we want to see the best of the best, and we want to see people on the highest end of it. So I imagine if there was something like that for Airsoft, you'd want to see that as well. Like the best gun.
With probably Airsoft to a degree, but with military stuff as well, it's such a high testosterone environment that
Yes.
they're probably already pretty high up anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I do think of some of the guys I respect though in the military, and actually they're quite calm. We think of Jocko, we think of David Goggins. Like David's actually very introverted for 90% of the time. So it's kind of,
I checked out his podcast and I thought, I can't imagine this dude being a killer.
no, it's weird, isn't it? But when he does talk about people's legs being blown off, but when going through claymores,
Yeah.
that's kind of a little bit
Yeah,
of a
that was
reality
messed up.
check. Yeah. And when you're playing Airsoft, getting shot all the time, you're like, yeah, this isn't probably the most tactically sound idea of doing
That's the thing,
things.
I guess that in Airsoft you are getting a lot closer, and you are doing it a lot faster. It's more skirmish than actual recon and stuff, but it makes you realise how easily and how fast you can just get wiped out.
Yes, and we found that out when the other team today did a tactical move that I have to give credit for them. They
That was good.
did it amazingly. It's almost as if they lined up in the way of doing a battering ram through the left-hand side of us. And I think of it as they trained into it.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone could have predicted that in any way, shape or form.
But yeah, because we were, you guys were all covering the front of that area, and it was just me on my own at the back, ready for a bit of long range. And they came around the back, and it was just me, so 8 on 1.
You know what's funny is I didn't think they were able to do that, and obviously I came semi that way the first time we did it. For those obviously don't understand the map, is that you can imagine yourself in a circle of trees surrounded by bushes, and on the left hand side these guys just came streaming out of the left hand bush into
Real hard and fast.
real hard and fast.
That's what she said.
Michael, please. Please.
Mwah!
And Jordan sadly took the absolute brunt of it, which is
I only needed one of them to kill me, but they all had to go.
Some people
It sucked.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. Some of those guys as well were quite intense. Let's say that, put it that way. So yeah, they weren't letting it happen. George wasn't one of those guys. I know he wants to be, but these guys are talking about where they're bringing their own equipment. They're bringing you know, the pretty heavy stuff. I can't say that's, I don't know, for a first timer that was kind of a little bit like over the top. I don't know.
Baptism by fire.
Baptism by fire is probably the best way of doing it. But I still enjoyed it, and I still see myself doing it again because of the intensity as well behind it, because it gets you going. Yeah, mate, that's it. No, that last match really got me. Like the success, I'm the type of person who hates losing, as you know, and if I lose, then I have to have something to hold on to at the end of it. So we did what would you call it, like a last man standing sort of situation where you had 4 guys in the middle defending a point, and then we all had to just kind of stream in and get to that point.
They described it as bulldog.
Yes.
Is it still recording, right?
This is the one problem with not having a flip display or being able to see my recording is literally just like, yeah, it's as good as it gets. But
yeah, they've got this bulldog match where you have 4 people inside like a little tyre bunker, and everyone is coming in 360. The guys in the bunker, when you hit them, they will go into medic mode for 5 seconds, and then they can carry on. So you have to get all 4 of them shot before you can move in. And it was hectic.
Yes.
There's grenades going off and there's bullets flying in literally every direction.
One of the guys that I started off with, he had a grenade, but he just couldn't get close enough to be able to like throw it in there, which for me, who's someone who feels like they have a relatively long range sort of throw, I just thought, what are you being talked about? And then I saw them throw off and I was like, that makes sense. You have to do like an underarm toss of it, otherwise it just doesn't go into the area you're looking at.
I actually managed to do alright with that, because we'd pushed up and we were in, I think, like 2 bushes out, and I've had these smoke grenades sat in my jacket for absolutely ages now, so I thought, end of the day, good time as any.
I was wondering where they were coming from, yeah.
Yeah, I threw one, this big purple thing, cleared them, heard the countdown start, just pushed through the cloud and just dived in. Not as much as you did though. We had Chris, I think was the last person in. But we were all, once you've scored, you just stand at the side and you can watch. So a group of us were just watching Chris at the end of it, just pushing up, getting shot, going back, pushing up, getting shot, going back. And in the end, he managed to put rounds on all 4 and just sprinted and just dived into the bunker.
Oh, mate, I thought I was going to have a much more bruised leg afterwards. I'm actually fine, thanks to your equipment, clearly having the camouflage worked. But sometimes I'm so committed to something. I get in my brain, I'm going to do something, I have to do it. And
well, that's the thing, the guy next to me watched you try again and again, the same route, and he said, oh, do you ever hear the definition of insanity? I was like,
did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
I didn't say anything, but in my head I thought, nah, this dude's gonna do it. It won't happen.
There is definitely, I think there's an element of that to me. You know, I post the same thing every Sunday for the past 4 to 6 years.
I love it.
So that's you've got to consider that, yes, there's an element to insanity in all of these things. Like, we're talking to a camera, like to each other, but also to a camera right now. So there is a level of like, you know, insanity behind that. And so I think that's good for you. You've got to be a little bit mad.
A few moments later.
What were we saying there?
I have no idea.
So the end of the last match,
it
actually gave me a little bit of a thrill, because I felt like I'd achieved something today. Even I know, obviously, you're not meant to think that way. You're probably meant to think, I got a few kills, like here and there.
I definitely think of it that way.
Yeah. But it can feel to the point. Sorry, we've got Sammy in the background, who's this amazing bulldog.
Sammy's a dog.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think I was referring to?
It just could be a real snotty person in the background.
We've got an audience here for the first time ever.
Yeah. Our mate Sammy here he sounds funny.
He can't speak to you, by the way. Mate. Oh dear. But no, I as a dog lover, like any element in this podcast. Actually, I should probably do a podcast literally solely on my love for the dogs, but I've never actually had one because my mum's allergic to them, and you know, that's another story.
Well, that's what we thought. We were supposed to never have a dog, and now there's 2 in the house. So
beautiful. And the son of Sammy is the beautiful little sausage dog.
Yeah, the irritating one.
No, the irritating one. Is he irritating now?
He's a nice enough dog, but That dude licks everything.
Oh my god, yeah.
Sniffing ain't good enough for him. He's got to get a taste.
I don't know. Some sausage dog has to get a taste. Love it. But I think with dogs as well, you have to be at a certain mindset. Some people are cat people, some people are dog people, and I think with my frame of mind, I'm definitely a dog person.
I don't mess with cat people.
Yeah, I do have friends who are cat people. I do think they're a little bit nuts. Like they're going to end up being surrounded by cats eating them at their end of their life, like they pass away in their house.
That's the thing. Dog will try and drag you out and help you. Cat will just eat your body,
eat your face. That is terrifying, isn't it? You just think to yourself, like, you get to 88 years old, and you're just like, what's going to happen to me? Oh, yeah, I'm just going to have cats.
Yeah, you know that cat is going to sit on top of the cupboard and watch you die.
Because they don't care, and they don't give a shit about you. That's
a dog, if you read their thoughts, the dog will be like, oh no, this is the worst thing ever. A cat's like,
that.
Huh, okay.
Spot on, exactly. They're just like, oh yeah, guess I'll have to find my food somewhere else then.
Time to bug a different.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like if you can pin that point to a human being as well. Do you think there's like certain people who have the characteristics of a dog or characteristics of a cat?
I'm not going to say any of them on here. But
What do you think that's insulting? They're just like we just shit on cats and therefore.
Yeah, there's certain people that I actually was saying today.
Oh,
if they're an animal, they'd be a cat.
That's very true, actually. You know what? What animal would you be if we didn't have cat or dog? Like, what animal do you think you'd be?
Armadillo.
Armadillo. Now, why? Yeah, please explain why.
They're bad as fuck, man.
They are bad as fuck.
You ever seen one curl up?
No. That is actually... Yeah, that's a pretty cool chat.
The
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket of the animal world.
That's very cool. Oh, yeah, that's very cool. I didn't even think about that.
Or a terrapin.
What's a terrapin?
Who like... Why is that funny?
Just a random animal, basically.
They got a sharp little mouth.
Sorry, mate, I can't. Sharp little mouth. Is that just because you're sharp, or is that just?
No, I just think it's cool.
Okay, no, fair enough. No, I'm trying to think. Literally, I can't picture myself as anything other than a Labrador, just because of my personality. Happy-go-lucky person.
Happy, hungry, friendly.
Yeah, literally, and always looking to just go sprint up to people for hugs.
Yeah, tell me that.
Have we got that on camera? Yeah.
Badass.
Terrapin. Is that the terrapin?
That's a terrapin.
Okay. Why does it look like a turtle?
It is basically a sort of turtle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, sharp.
George thought it was a bird.
George thought it was a bird. We think it's... I had no idea. That's hilarious. Oh, dear.
What are narwhals? Are narwhals a real thing?
Narwhal, the origin of the unicorn legend. Their 3-meter tusk is in fact no more than an overgrown canine tooth.
Narwhals. Yeah, they are. I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah.
Narwhals.
Narwhals.
That's a band.
Yeah, that's a band. Yeah, they're a sick band, by the way. 2012 Narwhals. Bang for life. Crew for life. Yeah, literally. I used to have a t-shirt with them on it. It's brilliant. Got destroyed in the 2012 lifestyle.
What's your animal, George?
Probably an owl.
An owl?
Yeah. Why is that funny?
I can't picture you as an owl, mate, actually.
Born to be mild.
Because I'm wise.
Not because your head can turn around 180 or anything.
No, I'm wise.
Oh my gosh.
It's happening. Taylor's tangent.
Taylor's tangent. I love a tangent though. I can't help myself.
Sure, I am wise.
George is literally trying to consider himself as wise. Oh dear. He is literally just to me. And by the way, if I would have picked an animal for George, it would have been a hyena every time.
A lemon? That's not It's not an animal, buddy.
It's an inanimate fucking object.
You're an inanimate fucking object!
He's trying his best.
Oh dear.
He's like the Echo Charles of this podcast.
Oh my god, he is, isn't he? You need to get jacked, mate. That's it. You just get the massive biceps. Mate, have you seen Echo Charles? Have you seen Echo Charles? He's twice the size of me.
That's pretty big.
He's like 33. Actually, no, I should probably say 3 times the size of me. He's massive. Isn't he?
That's what I meant to ask. Did you get tired of running today?
No. But I never get tired of running.
This is why I wanted to bring you along.
It's literally
One of the
doesn't.
reasons.
Many a time. No, what does get to me is these headaches. So there's many a thing George took me to his gym once, and it had a sauna in it, and I did the stupid thing where, once again, I didn't drink enough water, and I was sat at the pub. They're all having beers, and I'm sat there drinking water, going,
Pounding
"Help
waters,
me!" Just dying.
So once it crosses that certain threshold, it doesn't matter how much you drink. Like you're not
dead
getting
to
a
the world,
headache,
basically. Yeah, and I try my best to be sociable and but literally it can kill me. So dehydration, kids, drink water. Listen to Jordan.
Put salt in it.
Put salt in it. Yeah, literally. But apart from that, I think there's many things that come with running. The one thing that I found today is that I love the fact that it doesn't feel that I'm going to have a cardiac arrest every time we go for a fucking sprint towards the enemy or something along those lines.
That's the thing. I think Airsoft has this rep as being... I heard someone the other day describe it as the vaping of outdoor activities. And
oh my God.
I wanted to disagree, but I couldn't. But
the vaping of outdoor.
It's like Call of Duty crossed with running.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
the way I can put it.
It's intense.
It's tiring, yeah.
Yeah.
You do a day of it, it'll wipe you out.
Well, each time I kept removing that. Thank you for the goggles, by the way, because I had this black mask on that they gave me.
The rental masks.
Oh, mate,
they're arse, man.
So bad because I kept on like pulling it up after the match, and it was just sweat pouring off me, and it's just disgusting. You just smell yourself after. It's just like, oh.
The worst one is when you play in the cold. You get all the condensation on the mask, and when you breathe, you know. In Lord of the Rings, you get the Uruk-hai with those masks, and you hear them mouth breathing. There's like spit flying out.
That's it. We're gonna put that in. Go to clip, literally. Yeah, actually, we should make sure that the George is. No, oh, really? You're not gonna check the camera?
Camera still rolling.
Still rolling.
Yeah.
Good. Just making sure. Sorry, guys. What I should explain is that we're not using any of my equipment today. So clearly, I'm in the third-party zone here, where I'm just relying solely on Jordan's lovely equipment.
We bodged it together with my
yeah. It's just that I think that one thing that I do miss, like right now we're doing this, and I feel like my hands should be gripping onto a mic right now, and I should be speaking into it because I'm just so used to doing that, but. Maybe it's more comfortable for you. I don't know how that works and that sort of
Never
stuff.
really held a mic, to be honest.
No? Wow.
I think even any musical endeavours I had, I was at the back holding drumsticks. So
that is very true. Yeah. Did you actually? I've never asked this for you because obviously there's people like Dave Grohl who've gone on to be the front man for bands. Have you ever considered like, I do the drumming and then I'd want to move into, or is it just always?
It would
drumming?
be cool because people might actually notice me.
People notice you. What are you talking about? That is one of the coolest things about the guy who plays drums.
If I had
for
any
Coldplay.
musical talent, then that would be good.
Okay,
so I don't, so I play drums.
You've got rhythm though. That's the main thing.
You'd think so.
No, you don't sound confident.
No,
in
a little bit, enough to get by.
Okay,
enough to trick people into thinking I can do it.
You have a band. Actually, how is the band going?
It sucked. I made the decision to leave it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was tough. Just had too much else going on. It was disruptive with work, and obviously I'm based in Reading. That was all based in London, so every trip would be fuel, congestion charge, parking money, like playing a gig if I took a night off work. By the time I've missed the shifts off for money and paid to go do the gig, like over £200 just to go play a show.
I'm really sorry to hear that, mate.
Yeah, so it happens.
It happens. True. You'll find another band as well because you're a talented drummer. And when you got over that stage fright, like because you had that initially, I saw that a little bit in you when you did do it, and then once you got on it and you did it, you were like, that's it.
That's good. I hadn't played a show prior to that first one in 10 years.
Wow, that's mad. And you did it without a hitch. Actually, I mean, your lead singer kept on going about speeding, didn't he? Every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like.
It's because. I don't know if there's anyone else listening who does play an instrument, but when you get excited, you play everything double speed.
There is that, and you've got to consider adrenaline, and then also the excitement of the event, all of those things.
I just play better faster.
Yeah.
Everyone else needs to speed up.
Actually, you can probably hear it in my voice when I initially did the podcast. It's just like I'm rapid firing off, and that can be because obviously you're in a what you would consider at the time a high valued situation that's it for you is, but for other people like why are you so stressed? Why are you so like?
I wonder if because you get so into it, your brain goes into overdrive, and you're thinking so fast that everything else can happen faster.
I think you're also thinking of all the wrong things as well. You're thinking of all the things that could go wrong when it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I just get in the zone. I don't really think about what's happening. It just happens.
Now that's a technique, mate. I'm always overthinking things when it comes down to executing. Like, what's going to go wrong here? How's it going to be? Very analytical in that sort of sense.
There's a time for it.
There is a time for it, but sometimes when you're doing free-form conversation, you do think to yourself, am I taking this in the right direction? Am I going like the way that people would enjoy? Stuff like that. So it can be a difficult task when you have that mindset of just click, 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 next.
I think, if you can strike a balance between the two, if you can like get halfway between winging it and planning it.
Yes. Now there's a beautiful middle ground, isn't there, where you find that winging it actually creates a moment for you to actually be natural. And that's something that I have found is the more formal podcasts haven't actually been as good for the ones that I love just talking to you and friends, basically.
Yeah, I think it's nice when it's unstructured because you come across some stuff and it actually works out quite nicely. I think I'm quite like that in everything anyway. Like even tonight, if we're going to go out and grab food or whatever, I said earlier, like a loose plan is fine, we'll wing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Sammy.
We've got a third party in here.
Sammy, we're talking.
You gonna come and say hello? Or are you gonna... No? He's like, no, this is my house. Okay. It's fine. Sorry, we've got like so many things going on at the moment on camera, so we'll have to maybe pause it for a second, I think.
A few moments later.
Okay, technical issues dealt with. Sorry.
Back at it again. Is Sammy alright?
Got to start the whole thing over now.
Look at him, he just looks like he's like, I need attention right now.
So where are we? Hi, I'm Chris Taylor and welcome to Jackass.
That's what I should have said earlier today.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
But we were talking about the drums and moving on and analytics, but actually let's move on from that, because obviously you can talk into the grave about how you as a person are, how you struggle with certain things, and I think you can get into a negative spiral there. But positive thing is today was a lot of fun.
Today was awesome. And it's nice because we all sort of get together and catch up every now and then anyway, but it was nice to do something that intense. And I think a lot of the time we'll just get together and watch a film or grab some food or whatever. With this, it was actual working together as a team for something, and it was physical and it was mental. Yeah,
definitely.
So it is quite, I don't know, fulfilling, call it.
Yeah, you feel accomplished, don't you? After that, you're like, oh yes, I actually did something today. You know what's fun as well is that you're going to have that memory down the line. You're like, oh yeah, I used the Saturday and I didn't just sit at home and play video games or do whatever. You just like you did something.
Well, that's you think while we're all young and in like some of the best shape, probably, well, youngish.
Yeah, I think we're still young. We've still got time, mate.
So it's nice to get out and do something like that because, do you know what I mean? If you wait till you're old, plenty of old people do it, but it's nice to actually just get stuck in and run around and tire yourself out and get hurt a bit. It's good.
Yes, exactly. And then you have the ability to look back and be like, I did it then. I didn't just hold back. I went for it. And, there's plenty of people who have regrets in life, but I'm definitely not going to be one of them.
That's the thing, yeah. If we do that again, then we already know that we work well together and have a great time with it.
Yes, and we can build the squaddy. It gets bigger and bigger. And like the more people that get involved, the bigger it would, the more fun it will be. And I think also you can find yourself in the point where it could get too big, and that's where it's really fun. And you're just like, we got like multiple squads going on. We got like four or fours.
The thing that I'm wondering if you'll get, first time I ever played, the first couple of times I played, I used to have nightmares after. I would be lying in bed and there'd be bullets flying towards my head, and then I'd jolt awake. And Duncan had the same thing when I brought him along, so I'm wondering if you're going to get it.
To be honest, I don't dream or have nightmares. And this is something I don't talk about it very often, but I literally don't have either of those.
Too tough for nightmares.
I sleep so deeply that people have been... what is it? I was in New York City and somebody was getting shot outside and literally didn't even know about it.
What part of New York is this?
This is uptown New York, near the Bronx, which is kind of a little bit rougher area.
There you have it.
And when you hear, when I was in Bristol as well, you've got these. If you open the window, you can have the sirens going off and all of this loud. I just sleep through it.
Maybe that's why. If you got used to it.
It does feel like that. Even though I've been in the middle of nowhere where it's just dead silent, there's also now at the point where I can handle both, which I'm very lucky in that sense.
Yeah, I think I in the morning sleep quite lightly-ish, sometimes. But when I'm in the deep sleep, I've slept through the house alarm going off like 3 times.
Really?
Yep.
But that's a positive. That means that when you look at your, I'm an analytic person for sleep as well. That means you're going through REM sleep.
Yeah.
Like you're actually getting some sort of energy back.
Actual rest. Yeah.
Yes, actual rest.
Oh man, I remember actual rest.
Yeah, mate. Oh, mate, dude, like that's one of the
did that
things.
once.
Did you ever hear of the book Why We Sleep?
I've heard you mention it. I
It's
think
like-
Duncan's mentioned it as well.
It's one of those life-changing books which makes you realise like how important it is to get 8 hours minimum. Because you're thinking to yourself, number one, I don't want Alzheimer's, but number two, you're just general performance.
Day to day, yeah.
Yes. They were saying that it's the most performance-enhancing drug there is without it being a performance-enhancing drug. Which is crazy, isn't it? Like, if you want to get better at airsoft, you want to get better at biking, you want to get better at all of these things, if you get 8 hours sleep beforehand, you're going to be, like, something like... I think the percentage was something along the lines of 40%, which is crazy.
I can believe it. See, I've done quite a few mountain bike, like big up and down a mountain a few times days, and I've done full-on all-day airsoft events and stuff on about 4 hours sleep, and you get to the end of it, you're just dragging. But
That's
I think
crazy.
I tend to get really into it, and we'll just go full pelt all day, and it's when you stop, you realise, and it catches up with you.
It is literally then when you feel like you're just going to slump over and just feel like you're going to crash into the ground a little bit.
But in a way, I do like it because when you get to bed at the end of that day, you do get a good hard sleep out of it.
Yes. Yeah, and there's another thing. A lot of people like take drugs to be able to go to sleep as well nowadays, and that's not effective, is it? You want to be able to get to that point where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever taken sleep tablets before, maybe once or something. But from what I understand, you don't get a good rest out of it. You sleep, but it's like hollow, empty sleep.
It's like smoking marijuana. A lot of people think, oh yeah, smoke that, and then they'll be able to go to sleep, but actually it just ruins all of your REM sleep. It just takes all of it away, and that means that you're getting zero recovery. So even though you feel like you're in the deepest sleep possible, you're actually just getting zero REM sleep from it, which is crazy to think about. So some things that are medical are good, some things that are medical are bad in these scenarios. But
time and a place for everything, I guess. Everything
Exactly.
in moderation. All that.
Yes, and I think that you can get away with a couple of nights or days where you're like, oh, I'm getting 6 or 5 hours sleep, but you have to make sure that you're getting the consistency of that.
I think a lot of the time, because I rarely set an alarm clock, or if I do, I normally wake up before it. But your body knows what it needs a lot of the time. If you're craving something, chances are your body needs that.
Yes.
If you sleep to a certain time, that's when your body knows, unless it's the postman.
Sorry, I just thought like craving. If I listened to my body, I'd just be eating pick a mix all the time, like literally. So there would be that. I can't listen to my body too much. Like there is that. I think there's also a level of discipline when it comes down to being fired off. Like you know, some of the synapses just going.
But I mean, if you're craving something salty,
yes,
like when we got in today, you're straight for the crackers because they're salty. Then you know what you need.
Yeah, there is that as well. That was a healthy level of mindset where you're not like diving into something without craving those calories. But when it comes down to food, I think that's also another recovery aspect that is really important to consider as well. If you get the right nutrition, then
that's the thing I've picked up this year because, like I said before, you have inspired me to start actually exercising more, getting in a bit better shape. So I've changed up my diet, and before I'd sort of more or less have breakfast and a coffee and a packed lunch, and that'd be it for the day. Wow. And I was somehow putting on weight because my body obviously must have gone into survival mode, and I actually upped my intake along with exercising and started dropping weight.
Yeah, definitely.
So, this is a complex web of things that work.
Yeah.
But it did.
Well, yeah. When I tell people that I eat like 3,500 on my running days and then 2,700 to 2,800, that sounds like a lot. But when you're doing that amount of work, and I think with your job as well, whether you're either doing photography or you're working with cars, it's both very physical. Yeah. And so
that's the thing. I think a lot of the time you can overlook your sort of maintenance calories as well. Definitely. How much you can burn just by existing for a day without.
Exactly.
Because I think when I was younger, I think the first time I ever went on a treadmill, I ran, and it was like, oh sweet, I've burned off a digestive.
Yes. Yeah, literally. Oh, it's so depressing, isn't it, when you realise like a cookie's 200 calories, and it takes so much to be able to actually burn off. Like you have to run for half an hour to be able to get 500, and you have to be running quite a pace to be able to get that.
That's the thing, but then you realise that your heart pumping, you walking around moving, your eyes, muscles, everything, breathing, it all burns calories. So you passively burn, I don't know how many, but still quite a bit a day.
And the more muscle you put on, the higher that baseline is.
It's like having a bigger engine is going to burn more fuel.
Exactly. And actually, you know, having the ability to say to yourself, I can actually eat more calories today, and it could be a Saturday when you just want to have fun and just eat some nice food. That's like an excellent balance for your mind as well as, you know, your body.
Yeah, I mean, because I've not got mega strict, but I've got a lot more discipline in my eating, and a lot of time if I don't know, someone says, do you want to get a takeaway? I'll say no. I can happily turn it down, whereas before I'd be straight on it.
Yes.
Lucy raised a good point to me that you can have a day where you have a takeaway, because it's like the flip side. If you're really fat, having one salad isn't going to get you thin. If you're in shape, having one takeaway every now and then not going to make you fat.
100%. It's like you said earlier, balance is everything. I do think that some people take it a little bit too far. Like, for instance, when I was younger, I used to think that on Fridays I could just eat whatever I want in the evening, just because it was like, but I was eating more calories than I was burning in that period of time. So it's being sensible, like you said, and if you have that ability to do it, then it's great. You know, you move forward.
But I don't know with you. I mean, I've noticed that since I have started exercising more and eating better, if I do deviate from that, I start to feel not guilt or disappointment, but to myself, I feel a little bit off. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, like today. I'm literally like, even this is how I think dedication is a good word. Even though we've done a full day of airsoft, there's still in my mindset that I'm going to miss a workout today of back and biceps and chest.
Yeah.
Now that is fine to miss one day, but it still will be stuck at the back of my head, and that's unhealthy to some extent. But it's also, you know that you have this consistency built up already.
But if you think on the flip side, you've not missed a day. You've still had a hardish day of running around carrying gear. You've given your brain a workout, and you've given your happiness a workout, because you've spent time with people you like doing something that's good.
Exactly.
So I think that's another thing. You have to. They say your mental health is like the unseen part of your body.
It is, isn't it?
So you know, if you're having a bad mental health day, that's like being ill. You just can't see it. So you got to think of it as something that you can work out as well. So you can do these activities that are going to give you a boost, and that's a workout for your mental health.
That is a big one. That goes on, sort of talked about recently. It's become a bigger thing because of COVID and the amount of people who are put indoors and isolated and stuff like that. But I do think that, like you said, you need to have 1 or 2 days. One of the things my company does at the moment that I really enjoy is that once a quarter they do like a mental health day where they just say, here's some money, go out and spend it on something that's going to help your mental health.
That's responsible business owner.
And they want their employees to actually be sane. I think that's the main thing, isn't it?
I suppose you get so many other companies that will just drive people into the ground because they know that someone else will do the job if they quit.
Exactly. And that is something that's been created. Damn you, Jeff! Damn you! But to be fair to him, he's no longer in there. So I do give him shit. You're right. Amazon their business model has created a monster in itself where their employees are treated like garbage almost in some sense. And I don't agree with that at all. I think you're right. I think that you have to have value within the people that you work for. And even if you're a business owner and you see, something I have seen lately is a lot of people who are investors and business owners, they see themselves as better than the employees and the self-employed people. And that to me isn't okay. I think it is just people make life choices to do certain things that suit them. And it's extremely harsh to say, I'm higher up, these people are my employees, I can do whatever I want with them.
I think this is the thing I've always said, because I've been in jobs the same. Like, if one thing doesn't go to plan, or if you don't go to plan, the boss comes in shouting at everyone, calling them this, that and the other. I said to him, you can't just be a boss, you have to be a leader.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to get stuck in. Take yourself down to that level every now and then, and don't abuse people.
Oh my god, yeah.
charger going off.
Charger going off. There you go. What is that anyway?
It's just the charger for the airsoft batteries.
Oh, okay. At least it's something useful that you're gonna use it later. But what we were saying there, I think, is really important. I think that you said it best there. Lead by example. Like, what more can you say apart from that? Is that
that's the thing. If you act just like a boss, the big bad boss, all you're going to do is build resentment in your team. Whereas if you're a leader, they're going to want to do things for you.
Exactly. And from there, you build a bunch of employees who don't just consider you as their boss, they also consider you as one of their own because you have the ability to switch between those roles.
Yeah, you have to be able to integrate.
There's not many of those guys. I think that's quite a difficult role to fill purely because people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
Don't want to go the extra mile sometimes.
That's the thing. I think ultimately it doesn't take much to get people on side as well. There's small gestures and some good, I can't think of the word, just leading by a good example, like you said, and being one of the team, rather than just sitting back and being like, you do this, why aren't you doing this, I need you to do better. So sometimes you do have to check people, but yeah, it's so important in anything with a leadership position to be a good leader.
What I have found as well is some people have been promoted into roles of management, but they shouldn't be managers. And that's really sad to see. Like, they're really good at being in a role that suits them. Like, they can do their job really well.
They're good at the job, but not good with people.
Exactly. And it's actually worse than the person who's really good with people, but isn't very good at the job. And that can be the fact that, that person can go into management and lead a team, but the people who are really good at their job but can't should probably just stay in that role.
Yeah, or at least do something to improve their leadership skills.
Yes, exactly.
So there's ways to do it. You can always learn.
Yeah. And what's funny is this takes us back to Airsoft a little bit. I think it's actually such a fantastic team building exercise. You think about that. If you imagine your boss and you and your team, and you're like driving forward together, trying to plan out a way to take down an enemy base. Like, how much more does that, design?
I think a good thing with Airsoft is because you, for the most part, work as a small squad because it's your friends. There's rarely a leader, but someone will take point.
Yes.
So it will switch who. But leadership sort of is fluid within the group, and it's always a good leadership because everyone works together and we're all on the same level, and there's a respect that flows around.
That's another thing, having respect for one another as well. That's quite powerful. If you think in the office, some people you will look at, and you may not work in an office, but you're working in an environment of a team, and you'll be like, don't really respect that person. And if you go into this environment, we kind of have to.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the time, if you meet a new boss and they don't command your respect, well, not command your respect, but they don't earn your respect, it's hard to undo.
And from there, you have to navigate this. I call it a wasteland a little bit because from there you have mines all over the place of where you're going to have somebody who isn't in the right role for them, blowing them up because they don't know how to handle yourself or other people in your team.
But that's what the thing, you're exposed to it right the way back. I mean, you go to school, primary school or nursery or even secondary school, you've got a teacher that can't control the class.
Bang on.
Yeah, you can get naughty kids, but plenty of teachers do have the class under control.
Yes.
And it's because they're more personable, I think.
I think you really latch onto something there because I remember going to school where there were naughty kids, but there was about one or two teachers that they respected enough that even if they were going to be Larry that day, they knew how to turn them around and basically allow them to still get
I think that's the thing. A lot of the time you get, obviously every human is at a different part of the spectrum, but you get some kids that just get labelled naughty when all they really need is a different learning style.
Yes. Yeah, and if you allow them to have that learning style, again, I don't think that the education system, is practical enough for that.
No, I suppose they have their limitations. They can't cater to everything, so it's a one size fits all kind of deal. But
yeah,
I mean, some schools do have the extra classes, or they have an assistant who's assigned to a certain student and stuff. But I think it's best of a bad situation.
Yeah, exactly. And you can always, I think another thing is that you've got the basics. It's meant to just be a foundation. I think we all forget that.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be you learn everything that you're ever going to learn in life from school.
It's just the stuff that helps you learn elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It sets you up.
Yeah, and I do think there's a massive amount of pressure on teachers to be like, right, you're going to teach my kids everything that they need to know and until they get into the adult world. So there is that as well, like both sides of this.
I suppose ultimately you can guide, but you can't control how a kid's going to learn. So
Exactly.
it must be quite tough knowing that you've got a class of 30 kids and you've somehow got to get them all a good grade because it is going to come down on you.
Yeah, and those poor teachers have got high standards to hit, especially with, I can't remember the grading system that they have outside of it that's grading the school. Ofsted, thank you very much. And because they've got that as well, that adds extra pressure to them. And the amount of teachers I remember who have to do external work outside of work that they don't get paid for at all, and they still do it anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at teachers and think, they only work term times. School days are so short compared to a work day, this and the other, but there's a lot you don't see.
Yes, and that's unappreciated by most of society because it's just so standard and that people don't really see what's going on in the background. I mean, I've been lucky enough when my mum was a part-time teacher and then she was also a teacher's assistant where I saw exactly what was going on for the kids.
A lot of time teachers can just be seen as the bad guy.
That's a big thing as well, isn't it? You think about that and it's just another human being. Until you get past 18, I don't think you realise that though, do you?
It's when you see a teacher cry for the first time and you realise, like, oh shit, they're actually a person.
Dude, like that. See, even when I was a kid, if I saw a teacher cry, I was like, oh no, we've gone far too far here. Like that's awful. And maybe because I don't know, I was never that type of person who could
just unlocked a weird memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my teachers cried because one of my friends drew dicks all over my book.
What, because of the dicks or because she was just having a bad day?
I don't know. She was real upset.
What?
I think it was like angry, turned to moody, and then it got a bit emotional.
Okay.
Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but yeah, she was not impressed.
Wow.
I was like, it's just a few dicks, man.
I can't imagine that being emotional.
I didn't even do
it.
I turned my back and, that's how it goes with boys in school. You leave your book and it's going to get...
yes, absolutely destroyed. Yes. The amount of stuff that you would see carved into desks, it was not done by girls, it was definitely done by guys.
Desk art.
I remember getting caught once by putting chewing gum underneath the table and I was one of those monsters.
Just
I only did
man.
it once and you just swallow it. Like literally,
the amount of chewing gum we've eaten over the years.
That just gets stuck in your system for something like 8 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's always that. I think that's not a wise tale.
Do you think so?
Gotta be.
Well, to be fair,
the amount of stuff I've eaten that has just come out the other end.
It's just it is plastic, isn't it? Though.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be digested down because it's like
it will move with the times.
8 years later, it's still in its digest. Because I know this is really weird about the human body, but it's got something like massive. I think the big intestine. You can literally drag it from
a football field or something.
Exactly. Like you think about that piece of chewing gum just going through the football field for that long period of time.
I think the other food will help carry it through. I think you eat, and 4 to 6 hours later, it's time to make a bum bum.
That's true.
That chewing gum's gonna come out.
Well, we had to go there some way. Let's change course here, bud.
I'm just here to lower the time.
You're just maybe, but I don't think the podcast really has a low point. So let's take it even further. No, I'm just
I thought you never asked.
Yeah, literally, it just starts all about the absolute shenanigans. But I think school's also a point where you're finding yourself, you're doing all these things to figure out where you're going in life, and it's not an easy point for kids to go through.
I think that's another double-edged sword, if that's the right phrase, because when you're that age, you're making decisions that can affect the rest of your life, but you're a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I still don't have a clue, really. When you're a kid, like a 16-year-old, what do you know about what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Mate, the one that to me is absolutely criminal, and I don't understand how this has been allowed, is that 18-year-olds are allowed to take out £50,000 worth of loans from student loan companies, and that's for them to pay off for the rest of their lives, and they're making that decision before their brain is fully formed. To me, there should be some sort of like, hang on a minute, maybe wait a year or so.
If they ever do pay it.
Exactly. And I don't think most people do. I think it gets written off after 30 years.
I do wonder where it goes.
It's the interest that you pay is literally just the thing that they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's because it just gets added on every year, and you never truly get it paid off. So that's the dark side of that, really. And no one really talks about it because I think it's just a given by society.
Yeah, I think it gets swept under the rug.
Some things like that.
There's probably some people out there that are just real upset about it, but
yeah, I mean, maybe this is probably this is where I give an insight as well. I talked to my other mate Johnny about this, is that he took out a bigger loan because he knew he would never pay off the initial loan anyway. Now, I don't know if that was sensible for me to condone that at the time, but for him it's meant that he hasn't had to work throughout university and therefore concentrate solely on the studies.
Well, if it's worked for him, then it was the right thing to do, I guess.
It seems to have worked for him, so that's one route of doing it, but nonetheless you will forever have that loan over your head, even if it is, you know, just sort of like 140 quid or whatever it is.
I can't imagine it being stressful for you, these people who have got a degree on the go and a job or two at the same time.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, well, I did the entire...
And how was that?
Yeah, that was alright. I mean, for me, I was lucky, because I had the IT industry, where I think 2 of those years was remote working, and then the other 2 I went into the office for 6 months, and then went back to university. So, you know, I felt like I struck the jackpot sort of there, and I was very lucky. I don't think many kids get that, and I went to university at 21 rather than 18, so had some sort of maturity.
How did you find going to uni older?
I felt that it was a lot better.
Yeah.
I would never have been able to survive at university at 18 in comparison, because at least I'd been abroad at that point. At least I'd seen some of the world, get some sort of experience. But what I did find that I found it kind of immature, a lot of it. So you realise that when you're hanging around kids, that sort of age.
Yeah, I suppose when you are 18 and you get swept up in it, it can
Yes.
feel like the cool thing to do. But when you're a bit past it,
the amount of people who I see like drinking, partying in their first year, then they get to second year where you actually have to knock it down, and they just literally drop out. And that's it. It's gone. You've just wasted 30 grand. Just
for partying,
which is crazy. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I used to work a lot of the student nights as the club photographer. It's the same people, like 5-6 nights a week, just at it all the time.
How do they afford that? Number one, where's that money coming from, apart from the student loan? Because there's only so much they give you per month. Like
Mummy and daddy.
Mummy and daddy. Okay, the bank.
So
of
I always
mum and
wonder
dad,
is when we were younger, there was always this massive thing about your liver and don't drink too much, but that doesn't seem to be a concern now. People are drinking now more than ever.
It's funny you should say that. Like countries like Japan are trying to promote younger people to drink more because our generation and below aren't drinking enough apparently over there.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's a massive industry that may well slow down a bit.
Yeah,
and they want to keep some people in business.
Which is, I think it's great. I love the fact that I see that Gen X are literally, I think it's something along the lines of 40% more likely to drink less alcohol, which is nice to see rather than. I know for a fact that millennials definitely there's definitely some drinking going on there.
For millennials, drinking as a personality.
Literally, there is that. We've gone down a dark route here. I've just realised
it's happened again.
It's happened again. Taken on another tailless tangent. But I think what I would love to round off on here is that try and make decisions in the best way you can, but really get friends around you who are going to have the best.
Did you just walk into a door?
I hope not. Did you actually?
George has just limped back in.
I love these third-party parts of the conversation. It's great. Oh dear, you recovered all right there, mate.
Man down.
No, yeah, literally. We didn't. Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't actually throughout today. I don't think I saw you guys. I think Duncan revived me once, but no one else did. So I felt kind of independent in that sort of way. So that was nice.
It does suck when you get hit and everyone is out of range.
You just have to go back to the spawn point. It's a fucking ball lake, 100%.
Get the walk on.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway,
so do you want to end it here? This is on that and clink it. Nice.
So, you've made it this far into the podcast. Well done. You've listened to me and Jordan chat shit for basically an hour. Applause to you for the first point. So mini clap to you on the first point. But I think some important topics were covered within this podcast. Going from the schooling system to Airsoft being a fantastic team building exercise, all the way till us assigning animal sort of virtues and devaluations to ourselves and our friends. Obviously, it's all a bit of a laugh and just casual and fun conversation to have. I don't know if you could pick up the difference in my personality because I had a pounding headache at the time of this recording, and Jordan was kind enough to help me along the reins there. We're keeping the conversation going, and where we had external factors coming into the matter of the conversation, such as dogs, bad cameramen, and just an all-round something that I can't normally control. It was, in the end, fantastic for me to be able to be in a scenario that I'd not been in for the podcast before, where I don't have full control over everything that's going on. And I think that's a great learning experience. So I hope you took something from this podcast and that you'll be coming back for more, as I have brand new ideas coming up, brand new projects that I'll be working on. And as I've spoken about in the previous podcast, next week will be a pretty good one. So, this has been a Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I've been your host, Chris Taylor. And as always, I hope to see you this time next week. Bye now.
Stand by to get some.
It's a true statement, right? You know you're going to get some.
Stand by to get some.
Nice.